You guys should know, if you've watched me for any amount of time now, that I have a few things that are just kind of pet peeves that get me unreasonably triggered. I just can't help but argue with people who believe these things, say these things, or do these things. And one of those things, you should know if you've watched me for long enough, is lolicon shit. Like, I've always been weirded out by these people, but it wasn't something that I ever thought I'd spend any amount of time on my channel talking about until they came after me for a relatively, like, not even focused comment I made on how weird lolicon is. That it's pedo shit. They got so mad that I have been, like, on the lolicon community's hit list for years now since that happened. And now I've embraced being their enemy at this point. I've embraced it. But the lolicon people are in shambles right now. There's been a lot of stuff going on lately. They've been a little bit in the forefront of the internet cultural attention as of late, primarily because of two reasons. We're going to start with the more recent and severe, and then we'll rewind a little bit to something that happened a couple weeks ago. You guys were asking me to talk about it as well, so this segment will be a good opportunity to cover both these issues. You see, lolicon creators such as Chibi Reviews have been really feeling empowered as of late. Are you going to be praising censorship? Damn right I will be. So lolicon figures like Chibi Reviews have been really brave as of late with the whole lolicon thing, saying things like, fuck it, I'm making a lolly defense video today, already been canceled, had hundreds of thousands had 100,000 of thousands of death threats and false accusations. I have nothing to lose and will not stop speaking up for freedom of expression within artwork. I love how that's how they always frame it, and not like freedom to draw children in you know what. Yeah, they always got a euphemism in a little bit, but ever since then, bro has been getting swatted, apparently. He's made a GoFundMe. Most people are of the position that he's just farming money off of lolicons, scamming them for money, because, let's be real, Chibi Reviews is kind of a loser and not exactly a great guy. He's now also embracing right-wing talking points about, like, Muslim rape gangs in the UK, because you'll find out why he's doing this. But yeah, he's also now attaching himself to the right-wing sort of white nationalist movement. There is a bit of a connection between those people and lolicons, though, so that shouldn't surprise you. But a big thing that's got all these people absolutely freaking out is some news that came out yesterday from the UK. Some fantastic news. I would argue a rare UK police W. A VTuber named Mimi Yanagi was arrested, much worse than banned, arrested in the UK. And, I mean, the way that it's been reported by most outlets and figures on Twitter, you would think it's the most insane thing ever that some drawings got this person arrested. You know, just drawings. Like, what could be in these drawings that would get them arrested? Of course, none of these posts, none of these news headlines that are favorable to this VTuber actually say what she was drawing that got her arrested, but let's go ahead and read the post from the Twitter account. Good afternoon, Bun Buns. Sincere apologies for the absence. Mimi has a long story to tell. On Monday, April 20th, Mimi was arrested by the UK police for possession of her artwork. And her artwork alone. She's currently on bail pending the outcome of a criminal investigation into her accounts and activities. All of her devices were seized as a result of the arrest. As a result of her bail conditions, Mimi has to move to a new account and is required to use a header name on her new account that her bail officers have agreed to. The account in question is Mimi_Yabai. Her, per bail conditions, her activities for the foreseeable future have to be both safe for work and fully transparent in order to prevent a breach of her bail conditions. Mimi apologizes sincerely from the bottom of her heart for letting you all down, for disappointment, yada yada. So, what could she have possibly been drawing that got her arrested? You'll find that none of the posts sympathetic to her will actually say what she was drawing. She was drawing her literal toddler VTuber avatar getting raped by animals. And there are tens of thousands of people on Twitter right now melting down over this arrest, defending this lady, and calling for her to be released from prison. They're calling this an issue of freedom of speech. They're complaining about how there were no real victims. They're complaining about how, drawings aren't real. But none of them are outright willing to look you in the eye and say what they're defending is drawings of the toddler anime character being sexually assaulted by animals. That's at least what I've been made aware is what they draw based on the overwhelming response from people that actually aren't defending this person, saying like, okay, I found out what this person was drawing and I'm sorry, I can't defend this. And I'm like, okay, good, that's the correct response. There have been people who fell for it initially and thought like, oh, this person was just drawing like hentai and got arrested, what the fuck? And then when most people found out what she was actually doing, they were like, oh, okay, yeah. Who exactly are the victims, fictional characters? I'm glad you asked that, lolicon pedophile in my chat. Just want to shout out Shadow Mist 51, lolicon in the chat, just if anyone wants to know. So to answer this question, I'm actually going to repeat a story I saw on Twitter today. One poster was arguing why they'll never not see lolicons as pedophiles, and the story they told was the following: that when they were younger, they... Well, I'm gonna have to ban you for being a proud pedophile in the chat. Sorry, buddy. You're a danger to children. Anyway, as I was saying though, what this person said, they told a story about how when they were a minor, they were sexually assaulted, they were sexually abused, and they trauma dumped about it on social media, on Twitter. They talked about it, they told the story of what happened, and boom. It was, you clocked him? Of course I clocked him. And the guy was disagreeing with what I had to say. Of course he was a pedophile. All I had to do was, like, call him out on it, and of course he was going to own it. Anyway. But as I was saying, though, so this person's telling their story about how they came forward and told their story of being sexually abused when they were a minor on Twitter. The lolicon community discovered their post, their trauma dumping, like, assault story post, and proceeded to make a lolly drawing depiction of like a de-aged version of this Twitter poster, like how they like a Twitter, like a anime version of how they would have looked when they were a child, and then proceeded to draw a shitload of CSAM recreating the sexual assault that this Twitter poster described with a drawn version, a lolly drawn version of the Twitter poster as a child, like making CSAM of that event for themselves to jack off to. So these lolicons don't just see these drawings as inanimate fictional characters all the time. Sometimes the lolicons come together and literally use anime, or I guess like hentai, to depict real people or real cases of sexual assault for their glorification. They've done this to real child sexual assault victims in the past. They've told their stories. It was the lolicon community doing these things. They have done it in the past. They are proud of being pedophiles, like the guy in chat I just banned, whose last message was, and I quote, proud lolicon and shotacon. For those that don't know, shotacon means they're also attracted to little boys as well. Lolicon means they're into little girls. Shotacon means they're into little boys. So yeah, it's like these people don't fall for the it's not real, there's no real victims thing. You would never say someone isn't gay if they're jacking off to drawings of dudes, okay? Like jacking off to drawings of children, you're a pedophile. Jacking off to drawings of dudes, if you're a guy, you're gay. If you're a woman, makes you straight. Jacking off to drawings of MILFs makes you into MILFs. Jacking off to drawings of DILFs makes you into DILFs. The idea that they're drawings and not real people, absolutely irrelevant to why individuals would use them for sexual gratification. Let's stop pretending. That was a fun little stun lock. But so this poster, based poster, quote tweeted this post saying, "Good job. Hopefully the US will start doing this too. Call it what you want, but if you draw sexual art of children, you deserve to be in prison. Blocking any lolicon pedos in the comments, so don't bother." To be clear, you will see that a lot of these posts get massively ratioed by the lolicons in the replies, which would surprise you. Like, how are the pedophiles ratioing the non-pedophiles on Twitter, and it's for the same reasons I've warned about for years now. The same few tens of thousands of lolicon pedophiles online have come together into a massive, tight-knit community, and anytime someone dares to call lolicon what it is, or Shotacon what it is, they all unite together to attack you, and, like, they'll boost anybody who does. So you will see a lot of posts like this saying, good, they were drawing CP, they deserve to be in prison, and you'll see them get ratioed by lolicons in the replies. And it's not because everyone's a lolicon now, or whatever, it's just because it's the same people liking the same every single tweet under every post. It's all the same people, all the same accounts. And they've become a very tight-knit community. Maybe one of the most tight-knit communities on the entire internet. This is somebody who is complaining about the news. I want to show support towards a certain UK VTuber that got arrested over drawings, but if I reply/quote tweet, I know I'll be on a watch list. Ladies and gentlemen, I officially live in an oppressed country. So this person is admitting that they're a supporter of this lolicon VTuber, and that they live in the UK, meaning they probably possess lolicon, and they live in the country where lolicon is illegal, as we now know. Now, all I'm saying is, if any of you guys are in the UK, and you are concerned that this person, you know, I'm just saying, this person is potentially breaking the same law that Mimi VTuber broke. You know, any of the UK people out there, you know, maybe you see this as something maybe you want to contact people about. I don't know. I'm gonna be real, guys. I'm just gonna outright say it. If you're from the UK and you see a UK lolicon posting about being a lolicon, report it to the police. They're bragging about being a criminal. Report it to the police. I'm not telling you guys to swat people or make false reports. Like, if you see someone bragging about being a criminal, a sex criminal towards children, you're in the UK and they're in the UK, report it to your local authorities. That's what you're supposed to do. And honestly, this person basically just gave everything someone would need to do exactly that. I'm just pointing that out. You know, they basically all but admitted that they're doing that crime. But it continues. It continues. I saw this post. This is an example of one of the many posts supporting this Mimi person, this lolicon VTuber. And you know how I mentioned that they refused to actually say what this person was drawing? Here's a good example of what I mean by that. Be Mimi Yanagi, VTuber and artist based in the UK. Spend years building an audience drawing anime-style art. Every character is fictional. No real people, no victims, no harm. April 20th, police show up. Arrested for your own drawings. Computers seized. Devices taken. Everything gone. Released on bail. Conditions, no adult content. Account name must be approved by police. The UK government now controls what you call yourself online. A woman got arrested for drawing she made up in her head. No victims, no real people, just lines on a screen. The UK treated it in the same way as actual child pornography. No actual description of what this person draws, by the way, because you just can't. You can't. Everybody wants to argue this shit's a slippery slope, but they won't actually say what they're defending, you know? Because nobody believes that the line where we should say, okay, this is a slippery slope, most people don't believe that line is at the banning of drawings of toddlers getting essayed by animals. I don't think, most people don't think that's gone too far. So they admit that she was drawing CP. They kind of admit it. And then the most ironic thing, and I couldn't help but point this out in my quote tweet, the irony of this guy using the True Detective edit while defending a pedophile is not lost on me. I had to. I had to. Does it really matter how bad it is if it was just a drawing? I'm gonna guess with your Chibi PFP, you're probably a lolicon as well. Kato Bites. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You want to come on stream and defend it? One of my favorite things to do is bring lolicons on stream and bully them. You want to hop on? You want to hop in VC, buddy? Doesn't seem like it. I ain't hearing an answer. I ain't hear no bell. Now, these lolicons, they're big molding because, let's be real, the world is starting to catch up to understand exactly what these people are, and the law is also starting to catch up with you guys too. It won't be long now. It won't be long now. Y'all have to hide this shit just as much as you guys have to hide your actual CSAM material, the real kids. You'll have to hide that just as much, both of them just as much. You know, we know what's up with you people. We see the Chris Hansen episodes. But moving on from that particular topic is a related one. You guys were also asking me to talk about this, and I thought I'd throw my hat into the ring, I guess, since you guys wanted my opinion on it. And I figured that these two topics kind of merit a kind of combining, because they're kind of similar. Sony and Capcom released a game recently. Pretty popular from what I've seen. It's doing pretty good. It's a single-player, narrative-driven game. Its numbers are pretty high, so that suggests it's probably pretty high quality, or, you know, at least it's resonating with people. It's maintaining. The game's called Pragmata. Here's the trailer. Here, this is a trailer from a month ago for it. I'll go ahead and mute it just so I can talk over the trailer without having to worry about audio balancing. The concept of this game seems pretty neat. You know, it takes place on the moon. I'm super into moon exploration. The aesthetic is very NASA core, for lack of a better term. Like, it's a future aesthetic, but it's like a practical NASA, like modern space travel looking aesthetic. It doesn't look too out there. Also, as a Dead Space fan, I gotta admit, his suit looks pretty sick. But the character Diana, who we see here, is a bit odd, to say the least. Not quite as obvious unless you're looking at her from the front-facing position, but I'm going to say this as someone who's a big Resident Evil fan. Now, I haven't played a lot of the classic Resident Evil. I really got into it starting with 7. And I noticed this starting with Resident Evil 7. When you play Capcom games made in the RE engine, made with the Capcom art style, so think like Monster Hunter, this game, Resident Evil, the Capcom art style for characters. On its own, you look at the characters and they look realistic. Like you look at their faces and it's like they kind of look like realistic proportions. But if you actually put like Leon Kennedy side by side with like an actor that looks like Leon Kennedy, you start to notice that low key, the art style of Capcom characters is fairly stylized. Like they don't look like real people as much as you get tricked mentally into thinking they do while you're playing the game. And normally with characters like Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Leon Kennedy, Mia Winters, go down the list, it's not too jarring. You know, you don't really notice it much. Mostly because this art style in question kind of makes characters all look like they're wearing makeup. Like even the men look like they're touched up with like movie level makeup. The problem is when it's on a kid. When that one, like, scary little girl shows up in Resident Evil 7, her face just looks weird. I didn't really think about it much at the time because she's meant to be scary and creepy, so I was like, oh, she's weird looking. But then, the same thing happens with the kid in the new Resident Evil 9, and we get the same effect with the kid in this game. I don't know if we got, like, a very good, like, front-facing view of Diana's face here. Yeah, you guys see what I mean? Like, the eyes are way too big. The lips are too, like, not, like, skin-colored. Like, actual flesh-colored. The complexion is not, like, at all what a real person's face is like. She kind of looks like she's wearing makeup. Like, about to walk the runway at one of those creepy-ass child beauty pageants. And the main reason isn't because, I don't think at least, they were trying to appeal to, like, weirdos or pedophiles or whatever. This is just an ongoing thing with Capcom games and their art style, where it's never really worked on kids. Like, it's just always looked kind of weird. And when you get this game, with a heavy focus on this little girl, who is, and I'll admit this was a weird choice, not wearing shoes or pants for some reason, and they did at one point decide to like censor the game and make it so you could not look up her coat because that was a thing people were doing. And then when they made that change, people lost their mind because of course they did. Not to mention, before this game even came out, the subreddit had to be shut down because so many of the game's more weird fans were posting real CSAM there. Like the Pragmata subreddit was shut down because it was so full of child porn. It was that bad. So, yeah. I don't think the game, oh, they could, give her pants. I do, like, listen, I'm not gonna lie, the lack of pants for the character is a undeniably weird choice. I think you can find alternate outfits for the character that are not this weird, but the default choice is certainly a choice. Now, the response from the lolicon community was, of course, they accepted this game with arms wide open, undeniably. They love this game. Uh, Initially, the narrative was that the game, if you look at this character and you think about the weirdos and how they're going to sexualize this character, then that's a you problem, was their initial position. It's like, really? Like, the fact that I've spent long enough on the internet to know that when a character like this is in a game, I'm going to have to, in the future, I'm going to dread the future interactions with lolicon sexualizing this character. Like, that's a me problem. Like, that speaks to, I don't know. I think maybe the internet's just weird, and I have a good reason to be afraid of that kind of thing, because sure enough, we were right to be afraid of that happening. So you're going to get, naturally, by the lolicons, the weirdo pedo types, they're going to try to flip it around on you and claim that you're a pedo for noticing. Being a noticer means that you're the real weirdo. Meanwhile, these people are the ones looking you in the eye and more often than not defending lolicon. But it is what it is. More recently, though, apparently they've kind of evolved the narrative, like, around culturally boosting this game. Like, don't get me wrong, if you just like Pragmata, if you think it's a fun game, not harping on you, but the people that are, like, trying to make this game into a cultural thing are really weird. They've now turned it into, like, this game is making people want to be parents. It's like, okay, maybe, but I mean, if a video game character makes you decide to become a parent, you're probably going to be in for a rude awakening when you actually become a parent. But all right, maybe try a dog first, but what do I know? But that's kind of where a lot of the culture war is right now. Like, this idea that the ultimate thing, the ultimate achievement in life is having a family. It's like, I mean, having a family is nice, don't get me wrong, but if you think once somebody's achieved, like having a wife and a child, that they've just won at life, then go through life thinking that way, and you're going to have a rude awakening down the road, okay? The next Stellar Blade, that's why anti-wokesters are claiming Pragmata. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and also, what's really weird is how many of these right-wing posters keep on making memes about, like, hold on. Pragmata, if it was made in the US. There's a lot of these right-wing memes that are like, Pragmata, if it was made in the US. Let me see, can I find any of those right now? Oh, thanks, Google. I guess you just have no idea what I'm talking about. These memes just don't exist. No one's ever posted anything like that, I guess. Thanks for correcting me, Google. Okay. But yeah, people have been making these edits where, like, they make Diana ugly, I guess, is what they're doing. And their argument is, if the game was made by a Western studio, then they wouldn't have designed Diana to be what they find to be attractive. Like, they're literally admitting they find Diana's design attractive, and they would be upset because a Western developer would have made the child ugly. The self-reporting is everywhere at this point. It is everywhere. But of course, I think that's more or less all I have to say on the issue. I've been wanting to talk about the Pragmata thing for a hot minute now. A lot of people have been asking me to give my take on it. And, I don't have an issue with the game itself. My main issue is with the people that are weirdos about it, frankly. But yeah, hopefully you agree.